Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking about VCT Masters Tokyo and doing our pick'ems and predictions for the playoff stage. The group stage has concluded, and at the time of recording, the first match of the playoff stage is starting in about 4 hours. That will be Loud versus Evil Geniuses, and since that is the first match that will be happening, that's the one I'm going to talk about first, Loud versus Evil Geniuses. So my last video was about how Evil Geniuses are potentially favorites to win the entire tournament, and I still believe that. They are a very solid team, and they absolutely dismantled PaperX during that match, and they just rolled their way into playoffs. They did not look back, and they looked incredible. But they are going up against Loud, a team that they lost to in the Americas playoffs, and a team that is looking very good. Loud are potentially the best team in the entire world, so it's a very, very tough task for Evil Geniuses. That's one that I don't know if you can pick any other team to beat Loud. It's really hard to see them losing to any of these teams. Not that there's a lot of solid rosters or teams that have beaten them before, and there is the second place curse aspect of it, but Loud is very good. So is Evil Geniuses, so they might be able to pull off an upset. I hate to yet again pick EG to lose, but it's hard to see Loud not winning that one. Next up, I'm going to go to PaperX versus DRX. Now, this is a rematch from the grand finals of the Pacific League playoffs. PaperX did take that one in, I believe, a 3-2 win. And this will absolutely be a tough test for DRX. They haven't looked fantastic so far in this tournament. They lost to Evil Geniuses, and they had a shaky match against Foot, but they did end up making it to playoffs, so good on them. And PaperX might not have their star player in something. I haven't seen official word if he's playing here or not. Please correct me in the comments, but I mean, we'll know in a day or two if it is happening. But either way, if they're missing him, that's going to be tough to beat DRX without him. He is a very good player. But I don't totally think that that completely handicaps them in the way that they wouldn't be able to beat DRX. But I'm going to assume that something is playing. I'm going to assume that the team's figured out. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, that's fine. I am going to take PaperX for this one, even despite something not being there. Even if he's not there, DRX is looking shaky. PaperX has been looking a lot better. So I don't know. Now we're talking about Edward Gaming versus Team Liquid. Now this one is a little bit tougher, and I think this one is kind of hard to predict. Now Team Liquid, they did end up having the top seed in the EMEA League coming into this tournament, beating Fnatic in the grand finals to take it. While the regular season did have some up and downs, they were really composed and really good during playoffs, so I do think that they can go pretty far in a tournament like this, but Edward Gaming has kind of come out of nowhere. EDG with some very impressive wins over Na'Vi and then beating T1. Can is looking absolutely incredible. He's looking like he's potentially a top jet in the entire world. But Team Liquid, I would absolutely say, is a much tougher task than the other two teams that they have played so far. I do think Team Liquid is better than Na'Vi, and T1 is definitely not as good as Team Liquid. So this one is a little bit tough, but I kind of like EDG's chances here. I don't want to say that Liquid's going to do poorly in this tournament, but I do think that that's a pretty tough ask for them to beat a team like Edward Gaming, who again is just looking very good. But at the same time, they did lose against T1 first, but I don't know, like they're looking pretty solid. I can absolutely see Team Liquid taking this one, but I don't want to always pick the favorite. You know, it's a little bit boring, and I do think EDG have a chance. Next up, we have what I consider to be probably the toughest match to predict, and that is Fnatic versus NRG. So one of the top teams in North America versus one of the top teams in EMEA, a tale as old as time. Fnatic, while they did win lock-in, they did look kind of shaky during their EMEA playoffs. They lost to Team Liquid to lose the #1 seed, but they were already in the playoff stage, so it didn't really matter to them. But either way, both really solid rosters, both rosters that have had similar players for most of the time they've been in Valorant. I really like NRG, but I don't want to be biased towards them because I'm a fan of them, and Fnatic, it's hard to see them just losing in their very first match. One thing that I will say is that what happened last year, I remember, especially during Reykjavik, there were teams that were already in the playoff stage, and some of the teams that came from group stage just came in with a lot of momentum and just was able to beat the teams that were just waiting. They were already warmed up. They were already ready to go. I kind of see that happening. I think NRG, while they've looked shaky, they are coming into this match with more momentum than Fnatic because they've been playing matches, and I do think that that's going to end up making a difference. I'm picking NRG for this one. And now we'll go down to the lower bracket talking about DRX versus Fnatic. Now this is an absolutely crazy match to have in the first part of the lower rounds, but this is what my bracket is. And these are two teams that had strong 2022s but couldn't win a tournament during that year. Fnatic have now won that in lock-in. DRX still looking for that tournament win. Again, I just think that DRX is just looking a little bit shakier than I expected them to. Maybe they get their stuff together during the playoff rounds. It's kind of tough to say that they're going to and that they're going to be able to overcome a team like Fnatic. I don't know if Fnatic wins this whole tournament, but I do think that they're better than losing in the first lower round. As much as it kind of pains me, I'm going to take Fnatic for this one. I don't want to say that DRX is going to just lose both the playoff matches, but again, they haven't looked great so far, and I think Fnatic, they can recover after a loss from Energy and be able to beat DRX, so that's my pick. Now we have Team Liquid versus Evil Geniuses. This is an interesting one. They're both just really good teams, super solid rosters. Team Liquid having a lot more experience than Evil Geniuses with the roster they have, primarily having some players from Gambit and players that they previously had on other Liquid rosters, such as Yampy. So I do think that Team Liquid has a lot of experience, but Evil Geniuses have been proving that that doesn't really matter to them, that that's not really a factor in the matches that they play. They're able to outplay teams that are much more experienced than them. And man, I want Liquid to do well. I do like what Liquid, but I don't see them beating EG. And now we're going to go up to the upper semis, and we have PaperX versus Energy. PaperX coming in as the top seed in the Pacific League, looking very good. Energy almost getting that top seed in the Americas, but it ended up losing to Loud in the grand final, so they were second seed and went through groups. I think part of it could be the momentum that they're coming in with might be able to help them in a match like this, as I said, versus Fnatic. PaperX is a really tough out, though, and they would be the last team from the Pacific League to be here if DRX does, in fact, lose in lowers. PaperX was able to get a victory over Optic during 2022 in Copenhagen, but PaperX is a much different team than they were last year. They have a whole new system. They have some new players that have been absolutely crazy. PaperX absolutely might be a sleeper team to win the whole tournament. I do think that they have the talent to do so, and it being the first international tournament on an Asian country, I think they should be a bit more motivated. Energy is really good, but again, they've been kind of shaky. It is kind of weird for me to pick them over Fnatic, and if they're able to beat Fnatic, why would they not be able to beat PaperX? So while this is a really close one, I think I'm going to pick PaperX for this one. I can see Energy winning this one, but I do think that PaperX has a pretty good shot at the tournament title. And then we have Edward Gaming versus Loud. It's Loud. Listen, Edward Gaming, they've had some really good performances this tournament so far, and they may end up doing really good, but does anyone really see them beating Loud? I don't know if they do. I know the whole second place curse thing, Can's really good, but Aspas, Sadek, and less this. That's it. Then going down to lowers, we have Edward Gaming versus Fnatic. Again, this is a match that I really just don't see Edward Gaming winning. Fnatic is a very good team, and if they're in lowers, I think they're going to really want to do well during that tournament so that they don't show cracks in their roster. I don't see Edward Gaming taking that one either. I think Edward Gaming, they have the upset win versus Liquid. Both their wins so far have been upsets, but I don't see them beating a team like Fnatic. Maybe EDG comes back in a different tournament in the future and performs very well in that, but this is where their run ends for me. And then we have Energy versus Evil Geniuses, a rematch from the Americas playoffs. Ooh, this is a tough one. So Energy, they won the rematch versus Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses beat them earlier in the bracket during those playoffs, but then Energy was able to win in the rematch. They're very good rematches. And while Energy have had debatably tougher competition during this tournament so far than Evil Geniuses beating Foot and beating DRX, while Energy had to go through Nautis Vincer and T1. And while Na'Vi just did not look like the same team, T1 is a pretty solid team, but they did lose a map in both those matches. While Evil Geniuses, again, debatably weaker competition, depends on your whole opinion on things, but they did 2-0 both teams, and they are looking very solid. Demon 1 is just crazy right now. As much as I like Energy, they've just been kind of shaky so far, and maybe they play really well, but I think Evil Geniuses is going to be able to overcome them. And now let's go to the upper final. This is to decide who goes to the grand final. PaperX versus Loud. Ooh, very interesting match here. Two really good rosters, and both rosters would have to go through some tough teams to be able to get here. Just two incredibly good teams. Loud, I think, maybe is built a little bit better. They do have the second place curse going for them, but I do think that they're able to break it. PaperX, I would much rather them win this match because I do like their roster, and I do kind of want a team from the Pacific to win, and that'd be nice to see, but Man, Loud. I'm sorry, PaperX. I'm picking Loud for this one. Loud goes to grand finals. Then we have Fnatic versus Evil Geniuses. Honestly, I can see Evil Geniuses taking this. Fnatic, while they did finally win a tournament in lock-in, we haven't had a back-to-back tournament winner in Valorant so far. I do think that they have the capabilities to be the first one to do it. I just don't know, especially with them losing against Liquid. I do think that teams are going to be able to figure them out, and I think Evil Geniuses are just riding some kind of unicorn Cinderella run type magic, so I am picking EG for that one. All right, and then the lower final to decide who ends up going to Grands, we have PaperX versus Evil Geniuses. Another tough one. This is absolutely a very tough one. I like both rosters. PaperX has something. Evil Geniuses has Demon 1. PaperX has Forsaken, something, Jin, Mind Freak, Divide. That's a really good roster, but Evil Geniuses they've just had such good chemistry so far. They've just looked absolutely crazy. They have an absolute gauntlet to go through to get to this point. As much as I would like to see PaperX in a grand final, especially during this tournament, I see Evil Geniuses taking that one. I really do. Not trying to be biased towards North America, but like, they've looked great so far. They're here for a reason, and they are looking like just one of the best rosters in the entire world right now. And Demon 1 is just on another level, so I can see them carrying that momentum into playoffs and making it to grand finals. So that makes the grand finals a rematch from the quarterfinals. From the start of the bracket to the end of the bracket, these teams meet yet again. Again, Loud just, man, it's tough to see them losing another grand final. It really is. Like, after losing in lock-in on home turf, they're probably just so locked in and ready to win one. I'm sure they're super prepared for this tournament and for these teams, and being able to beat Evil Geniuses early on in the bracket. EG has been extremely good so far, but are they able to overcome Loud in a grand final? At this point, Loud would have kind of broken the second place curse because they've had a good run, but are they able to win, or will they choke, and will Evil Geniuses just bring it to them? This really is a tough one. God, these two rosters are so good. Like Boostio and Demon 1, Ethan, like they've all been playing crazy right now. But again, Loud, Aspas, Les, Sadek. Like, what do you do against that, really? I think it ends up being really close, but I do think Loud does take that one and does finally break the second place curse and wins the whole tournament. It's just hard for me to see them losing in this tournament. They've looked like one of the best teams in the world. Teams have been able to beat them, such as Energy, but that's kind of the only team that has beaten them in the regular season, and they just rolled through playoffs. So I think they're going to be very ready for this tournament and able to take it. And I just think while Evil Geniuses will be on some Cinderella run type stuff, I don't know if I see them beating Loud, and it pains me because I think if they're able to win this tournament, especially through this bracket, that might be one of the best runs any Valorant team has ever gone on so far. So I would love to see that, but personally, I don't see it happening. I think Loud takes this. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.